Yeah, I'm staying with Inkling. Is there a specific thing that makes MK Leo so good? No, I feel like it would be very unfair to put it down to only one thing. He's just like, you know, he has the whole thing. Like, he knows, like, he doesn't have like any like super glaring weaknesses. Like, he has really good knowledge, really good spacing, decision making, ledge trapping. Like, yeah, I saw what Leo said about Lucina. I can kind of see what he mean. The thing is though, when people say, if he says Lucina is overrated, that could mean so much. Let's say the average opinion is that Lucina is 4th, then putting her as 5th. If he believes she's 5th, then 4th is overrated, right? But if he puts Lucina as like 15th, then that would also fall under the like category of Lucina is overrated. So I'm not sure if he stated how much she's overrated. That's what I'm more interested in hearing. Advice on dealing with tournament pressure. For me, like, obviously it's easier said than done, but for me, I try to not overthink stuff. I feel like a lot of times with nerves, people like overthink stuff, like what's gonna happen if I lose, you know, these type of things. I actually pretty much for the first time ever played against the Ken at Summit, like one of the buy-ins, and I feel like some of the issues with the character was lack of range and pretty one-dimensional recovery. Leffen talking about quitting Ultimate. Oh, due to online? Like, I would not blame him. I would not blame him. Like, the game is fun, but yeah, the online issue is obviously a big one. Especially since he already play melee as well, then it's like even harder to justify. So yeah, if that's the case, like even if Ultimate Online was perfect, just playing 2 games at the same time is really hard. Yeah, I think even if someone start now, they could become a pro player in melee. It will take time though, but I think it's very possible. Like, take Sane for example. Sane started after the documentary came out, and he has already like won, not a super major, but still a very stacked major, beating HBox twice, beating Mango. In the past, he has also been beating Plop, Leffen. Marv has a case for being top 2. He even has a case for being the best character in the game. I personally think he's 3rd, but no. Well, the thing is, when you lose because of lag, it's like then it doesn't matter if you do something right or wrong. Like, it just like will be wrong regardless. Like, if you lose on no lag, then if you're honest with yourself, you can be like, you know, I got outplayed there, you know. Accept it for what it is, but it's hard to accept it for what it is when lag destroys it, because you even get punished when you do the right thing. Yeah, the thing is, like, let's say I would play with someone, like, let's say around, you know, Genesis, when I got destroyed by Tweak. I would rather lose that way than lose slightly less bad, but playing during lag. Like, I would be more frustrated even if I brought it closer, just because lag is shitty. Yeah, Grassy, that's something that very normally happens. If you improve overall as a player, like, you improve with like many characters, just because you understand the game better decision making, better like at many factors of the game. That's like why many like top players can play many characters at a super high level, because they just understand the game at, you know, such a level. How did I avoid hand injuries? It's hard to say for certain, but I think some factors are, like, one factor is probably luck. One factor is probably that I have a very loose grip while holding the controller. I think that is a big thing, actually. Like, some players just have like such a tense grip that, like, when I see some players play, I'm just like, it's a matter of time before their hands are destroyed, you know. Well, I 100% understand Leffen's frustration because, like, not only is online shitty, we also don't really have too many players to play against. Even if it is some players, like, let's be honest, in comparison to, like, people living in good regions in the US, it's like shit in comparison. It just is what it is. And sure, some people might say you guys did it for melee. Yes, we did. But that also, like, was such a fucking hassle. So it's like really annoying to go over that one more time. Most people wouldn't even, like, truly attempt to do it once. I have not made a decision regarding Ultimate. I've been 100% transparent and honest from the start that it's unlikely I stick to it long term. And I would say that's still the case, but I have not made a decision. I know I said roughly around Summit, but that was like an estimated timeline before the game even came out, pretty much. That I would have like 3 months or whatever. Because obviously the initial like Ultimate hype have died down, so you could like see many streams that have like dropped in terms of like numbers and stuff, which was expected because obviously like right at the start it's gonna be at its peak. But hopefully we gain like some new momentum now since Summit is over. Like, as have been stated before, if melee players don't play Ultimate, people are gonna be like, oh, melee players don't give it a chance. If you do play but consider like, or you decide not to play it long term, it's like, oh, you're doing it for the money. Basically, the only possible win is to play it long term, regardless. Like, every reasonable person would be like, yo, it's sick that melee players, you know, play and stream and attend tournaments for Ultimate. That's like all you can possibly ask for. And then if they keep playing it long term, that's like extra bonus. Yeah, Cosmos is obviously still the best Inkling, but I've closed the gap a little bit, but he's still very clearly the best Inkling. It should not be much of a surprise though. Like, yes, Ultimate is a new game, but if you compete at a high level in Smash 4, it's a drastic advantage compared to melee players. Yeah, it's very true. He lives in a house with like Tweak and a bunch of other like good players, so that obviously helps. I normally make the like reference that playing Smash at a high level in Europe, for any Smash game in Europe, like, it's kind of like playing a game on a harder level. It's like, imagine you have a single player game and you can decide if you want to play it on easy, normal, hard, or sometimes even very hard. Like, living in good regions in the US is playing the game on easy mode. The game still is very hard, but you still play it on easy. And then living in Europe would be like hard. And then if you live, or most regions of, or areas of Europe. And then of course if you live in like some other places without any community at all, that would be like very hard. So it's like, it doesn't mean it's impossible to finish the game, but it will be significantly harder. Yeah, the MVG house / the loft, these type of places would be like easy mode. And this is not me trying to take away from them, because they're obviously like good players working hard, but I feel like it would be delusional to say that it's equally as hard with those type of conditions. Harder how? Not having access to good practice is a disadvantage. Like, it's something you have to accept, but it would be silly to say that it's not a disadvantage when it clearly is. If I were to hypothetically pick a secondary for Inkling, who would it be? I'll probably try to investigate more matchups. But right now, I could be wrong, but right now I feel like matchups that might be losing ones for Inkling are Peach, Olimar, Wario. I personally feel like Ivysaur is hard. I'm not sure if that's me or the matchup actually is a bit tricky. Not awful or anything. But at least the first 3 matchups. So I would probably want to have a character that do good against... Good slash at least, you know, alright against these characters. So I feel like a sword character would be what I would look into. Like maybe Lucina. Because I feel like Lucina at least does fine against Wario and Olimar. But the Olimar thing might be me being biased of, you know, seeing that matchup a little bit. I have not been in Leffen stream, but people in chat have talked about it. So we did talk about it like briefly. And I basically said that I totally understand him. Online sucks ass. Being in Europe also kind of sucks ass to be like a good player. Not impossible, but it is harder. And he also plays 2 games. So even if he lived in the US, just playing 2 games is like a pain in the ass in itself. If you want to be the best. Like if you're cool with being like a top player in 2 games, then I would say it's not really any like too big of an issue. But if you want to be the best player on the planet, then playing 2 games is really, really fucking hard. Mutikin says he really misses setting me as a target and goal for him to improve and compete. Yeah. I can totally understand and see that as well. Like, obviously it sucks. Like, I don't want to be the reason, like, other people are, like, less motivated. But obviously I understand that can, and for some people will be the case. To be fair, though, I feel like Mutiking's motivation for Melee has been going downhill for, like, a kind of long time. Like, way before I retired as well. But that might have, like, pushed it even more. Probably did. Yeah, Ultimate will have more entrants than Melee, but, like, at big events, like, it's probably not going to be, like, a super crazy difference. Because let's say Ultimate have 50% more entrants, right? So say you have a tournament with Ultimate that have 1,500 entrants, and Melee have 1,000. Then the prize pool difference is 10,000 to 1,500. Or 10,000 to 15,000. So let's say you win the tournament and you get like, you're not gonna get 50%, but let's just say 50% to make it easy. Then the winner would make either 7.5 or 5k. Like, sure it is a difference, but it's not like absolutely crazy. Like, I would say Ultimate and Melee will pretty much be like in the same tier for prize pools. The one thing Ultimate competitors will have like probably a significant advantage of in terms of prize pool right now is locals. Like some locals will probably like pop off with like unreasonably high numbers in comparison. But honestly, prize pools for Smash games are always like ass, and nothing indicates that that will ever change. Because Nintendo doesn't want, like, they don't really want like pro gaming to be a thing. Nah, the thing is like being a competitive player in Europe, as we went over earlier, it is much harder. So in a sense, if you want to be the best player in the world, it is an issue, but for very few people, it's just like, oh, I want to move to the US, and then you just do it, right? And even if you could do it easily, like, it's more to things than, like, just Smash. Like, families, maybe you have a girlfriend. I know Leffen do. What about, you know, her situation in that case? It's so many factors than, like, oh, just move. Yeah, Nintendo will make another Smash game in the future. For sure. You just look at how many copies Ultimate sold in, like, you know, day 1. It's way too much money for them to say no to. That's how it works, right? How do you get good practice when you don't live in the US? Will Def, once you figure out the answer to that question, please get back to me. because I don't know. About maintaining streaming, social life, and turning life. Yeah, no, I felt that issue many times. It's part of the reason as well why it was not the main factor, but it was like one factor to like the whole melee life as well. Started to get more draining. It's more draining. I know I brought it up a lot of times and I might sound like a broken record, but what Leffen explains there, it's even more so for Europeans. Because we need to like effectively spend even more time on doing all of the things. Like people occasionally could be like, oh, Armada and Leffen, they practice so much more, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, guess what? When you like have shitty ass resources in comparison, you have to do it more. That should actually be like really easy to like understand once it get pointed out. But some people are like, oh, like Armada and Leffen, they play so much more. Yeah, like, what do you expect? Like, you have to. Like, it's not like we're like actual magicians and like can you just like whoop snap with our fingers and then that's it for practice. Like, of course, if you have like more and better resources, you technically won't have to spend as much time. But if you do, then you're also at the advantage that you did the time and had all the better practice. And then like let's say people like me and Leffen, we want to go to like, or we plan to go to like 2 or 3 tournaments, 2-3 weekends in a row. It's not like we can go back home between each one. Or, in theory we could, but that would be like even worse. Like go from Sweden to North America, Sweden, North America, Sweden, North America, Sweden. That's 3 tournaments. Like, as you guys can hear, it's just like not reasonable at all. So many times you have to be awake, or not awake, away from, you know, home for like multiple weeks, sometimes like a month straight. So it's like, it simply just is more of like the tricky stuff and like the downsides. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not trying to say that, oh, it's all bad or whatever, but yes, it is more brutal doing this type of lifestyle, being from Europe, when it comes to Smash. For other esports, it might be different, but for Smash, it very, very clearly is more draining. Even a thing like streaming, for example, like, most of the main audience is from the US. So streaming hours, like, for me, streaming, like, at noon is really not nearly as worth it as it is for someone that lives in the US to stream at noon. For them, those are like still good hours. Here in Europe, those hours are like practically worthless. So you have to like in order to like gain more from your streaming, it's better to do it at pretty absurd hours as well, which is not the most healthy either, to like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stream until like 5 AM in the morning. It's like, you can, but that's also like, yeah, it's just like a lot of things that's like, yeah, pretty rough. If you're a top 10 player, I really doubt regular practice with random SoCal Florida people is going to help that much. After all, I'm not sure if you're like on purpose trying to make some silly claim here, but you realize that let's take someone like let's say S2J, lives in SoCal, have West Balls in SoCal, Lucky in SoCal, Mango in SoCal. Like, how much do I have to keep going on? They don't have to play against people that they 4-stock consistently. They have many players that are incredibly good within, like, you know, a close distance. For people, like, for me, for many years, the only practice I had was against computers. Like, for me, it was like, oh, I have someone I can 4-stock 10 games out of 10? Sick, let's do it. That was, like, good practice for me, for, like, what I had at the time. It's incredibly silly trying to claim that someone like Coldball, HBox, that refuses to play matches against people, that they have it the same as us. Or even, like, close. Even someone like PPMD, that had, like, bad resources for being in the US, still had it much better by having, like, so many, like, regional majors and stuff, you know, much closer. It's not nearly as much of a commitment. for someone living in North Carolina to go to, like, let's say New York, as it is for me in Leffen to go to New York. Like, yeah, it's just like incredibly wrong.